What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 24 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys. I'm joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty, and making a nice little special guest appearance, we got Nick Scarpino himself.
It's a Game Over Greg crossover episode.
This table.
There you go. He knows how to do it. He only knows how to do one show.
This is a crazy show. We're doing something crazy. We're always doing crazy shit. But the crazy thing today is that we're shooting our episode after E3, before E3, and there's actually like a week gap. So this is the furthest in advance we've ever shot.
I'm glad Sony won E3. I'm glad they won.
So this Gamescast is being recorded before E3 happens. And rather than post it right during the week of E3 when you wouldn't want to watch it, you'd want to know about cool stuff happening at E3.
Yeah.
We're posting it when E3's said and done.
Yes, because we can't record an episode during the week of E3, a normal episode.
Right,
Because
we're
we're
doing
going to be
episodes.
recording, at this point you'll have already known this, but we're recording special E3 Gamescast throughout the week.
Sure.
So it's gonna be fun. So we're gonna do something different because we don't want to be talking about news and stuff from the future that we don't know. That'd be
Or
presumptuous.
boring shit from the past.
Or that too.
Man,
That would be
I
the other
wonder
one.
if Neil Druckmann came out at E3 and then he came out on stage and everybody's like, hey, Neil Druckmann's here. Like, if we said that now, we would look stupid.
I'm going to call this right now. Colin was right about everything. At
Well,
E3.
everything.
What a surprise.
Full points. to
Everything.
Colin
Just
Get in
Moriarty.
front of the table and genuflect at his feet, why don't you?
I think that Colin was right that we're
What word was
probably
just
going to
used?
see Fallout
Genuflect.
4 in some shape or form. Maybe a trailer early. Maybe a week or two early before E3. What time period is this?
What predictions need to be
Where
made?
are we? I can't remember.
So what we're doing is we're going to talk about our favorite video games of all time. So you guys have asked for this. You wanted this. Greg had the idea. I think it was Greg.
Yeah,
Be careful what you ask for.
Top fives.
Yeah,
from
top
each one of
five.
us.
Our top 5 favorite games of all time.
I'll predict
not
Nick's.
best games. Our favorite games.
Nick's
Each
are
one of us.
Axiom Verge,
No.
the first half of Dying Light, and then all files not found.
Close. Real close, Greg. You're a real funny guy with your cool slap bracelet.
You put that on me. It's
How
not
are we going to do this? What is the system?
So the system is we are going to start with Nick Scarpino.
Oh, we are.
Yes, we are, and he is going to give us his 5 favorite games. But I'm going to allow him to add on whatever bullshit he needs to add on to that.
Right.
If he wants to add honorable mentions, sure. If
Okay.
he wants to have a top 10, sure. The
gonna-
headline's still going to say top 5. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm just letting you know.
We
We're
like
going
to
for
lie
top 5.
to our audience.
Yeah, but before we get to that, there's the rigmarole. People need to know all the stuff. Where they can get this beautiful show, every Monday through Thursday, broken up youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. We'll do a topic by topic, full episode Friday. You can get it early, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. It's great. It's a whole adventure. You should do it. If you want to leave topics for us to talk about, you should go to the Kind of Funny forums at kindoffunny.com/forums. The link's right here if you're watching the YouTube video. Kevin.
Kevin, don't screw that up, Kevin.
It's clickable because Kevin's awesome. Probably.
Probably clickable.
But anyways, leave your topics there. We'll be grabbing them from you guys, and thank you. We love you so much. Now that that's out the way, Nick,
Yes.
what are your favorite games of all time?
Yes, brother. Well, obviously I'm not as hardcore of a gamer as you guys are. So when I think of the games that I've played, or my favorite games, I have to think back to the games that I was like religious about, like the games that I craved when I was at high school or in junior high. I'm like, I gotta come home and I gotta play this game. And one of the top ones on my list has got to be Doom. I've talked about it a little bit before, but it's one of those games where it came in like a box.
As PC games used to.
Yeah, and PC games. And no, it was the discs were actually like
3 and a quarter.
They were
inch.
3 1/4 inch floppy, but there was like 30 of them.
Yeah.
And you had to just sit there and install over and over. And I just remember
Oh, 3.5 inches.
3.5 inches. Yeah. Quarter, four
From
and
five
quarter,
and a quarter were the floppies.
Yeah.
Tim, you read about this in your history books.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was definitely what they taught me in high school.
So that was a game that was given to me actually by my old music teacher back when I was in 7th grade. He was like, "You're gonna love this game.
Way
It's
too
gonna be
young for
amazing."
kids, old man.
Yeah, he was cool. He was a cool guy named Mr. Usher. He was the dopeness.
Was your music teacher Usher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even put that together. How come you didn't discover me like Jay Beebs? But he gave me that game, and it was one of those. It was the first instance where I was like, well, first it was maybe one of the originators of piracy as well, because he gave it to every single person. We were just like, here, install this. I'm sure Ed Software really loved that back in the day. But that was one of those where you installed it because I had seen it somewhere, and I'm like, I have to have this. I need to play this game, and I had to figure out like how to if my system specs were correct, that they could play the game, and like how to go into my BIOS and like turn stuff off so it wasn't taking RAM.
Sure.
So that I could like free up the 2 megabytes of RAM that my computer had so they could play it. And then when you finally got into it and you heard that like, oh, like, you know, you saw the Doom logo at the very beginning of it, and you started it, and you're just in that first level. Like I could probably play that first level blind right now, and probably negotiate and hit the guy up at the bottom, at the front of the stairs, and get the secret passage and all that stuff. So that's got to be one of the top of my list. This is not in any ranked order specifically. The next one I have is another one of those games that I played religiously, never beat because I'm terrible at strategy games, but I'm going to give it to XCOM. It's one of those games that I didn't realize was such a big deal until I started working at IGN. And when they started doing top lists, I saw it pop up there. I'm like, oh, you guys know XCOM? And everyone's like, yeah.
Everyone knows
We know XCOM. And it was just, to me, it was one of those games where like you can't judge a book by its cover, but you can, because the cover was awesome. You flip it around, you're like, holy crap. This looks like my kind of game. It was right in the height of when I was super into X-Files as well. And so like it said it had the alien conspiracy, had these babes, had everything, had the X. They really had the nice connection. So I played the hell out of that game, and actually that's one of those experiences where it forged a huge friendship between myself and my good friend Ryan, because he came over to my house for spend the night for a sleepover. This is back in the day. We used to trade. I used to go over to his house, and his mom would make us cookies, and then he'd come over to my house and eat pizza and eat a ton of cookies as well. And we would play. We would just like mess around with the computer, and he's like, "What is this new game you have?" I was like, "Oh, you should check this out. It's called XCOM." And then he ended up playing it all night to the point where my mom came out at about 6 a.m. and was like, "You need to go to bed." And I had gone to sleep like 6 hours earlier. I was like, "Dude, you got this." And that for him, I think, was one of the first real eye-opening experiences with computer games, because he was a Mac guy, so all he had was what was the old Bungie game? Marathon. All he had was every time I'd play something on my PC, he'd be like, "Well, I got Marathon." I'm like, "Hey, bro, that's good. Good for you. Marathon looks great." So I'll give it to XCOM. Another.
Did you play the new one?
No, I didn't go into it.
Okay.
There's been a couple since, right?
Yeah.
Well, I played XCOM. I think I played X. There was like a one where they lost me when they went to Atlantis, when it went underwater. I was like, this isn't cool anymore. Space is way cooler than underwater games. But speaking of space and X's, I'll put. This is an honorable mention. I don't know if it belongs on my top 5 list, but I will put X-Wing up there as one of my top on the list. That was another one of those games where I'm like, you know, I used to go to a place called Egg Software to get all my games, and I was like, look, I'm playing this game, but like it's terrible right now because I have to you'd have to use the arrows because I didn't know to use the mouse because I wasn't smart like that. And eventually I got a flight stick, and the flight stick was a game changer for me. So I started wrecking shop on that. Never beat that game either. I gotta look at my others. Oh, and then probably on my top list, I would have to say GoldenEye has to be there to a certain degree.
That's a great pick.
When I think about obviously like the experiences of the specific like 2 summers that I played that game and Mario Kart 64. I'm not gonna say Mario Kart was my favorite, but I played the hell out of that game. But GoldenEye was like right at the height of me being a huge Bond fan. It was right at the height of me really being introduced to the series via Pierce Brosnan when he came in.
The best Bond.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah?
He's up there, but he's not my favorite Bond.
The best.
I don't know. You know, best is a relative term.
In my top 5 Bonds, it's all Pierce Brosnan.
Just Pierce Brosnan. It's all of the movies that he's done, including The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah.
Widely touted as one of the worst Bond movies ever made.
Which one was that? Is that the one? The only one I've ever seen in full was the one that I thought A Christmas Only Came Once a Year.
That's The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, the best Bond, Pierce Brosnan.
Literally one of the worst. But I loved GoldenEye, and I loved GoldenEye for the single player. And then when we started playing the split screen multiplayer, it was just like
whole new world.
And it was hilarious because you had to. It was like learning a second language with that controller because it didn't really make a whole lot of sense. You were like, you know, depending on the game, it had just the analog stick straight in the middle, like a little like one nipple just sitting out looking at you in the face. But all my friends, we picked it up, and we used to go to my buddy Todd's house. He had his room was in the basement. He had this big ass TV, so it was the only TV we could actually play on that wasn't like. You didn't have to sit 1 foot away from it to figure out where you were going. And I used to be really good at that. To the point where like proximity mines were my jam. Yeah. My damn jam.
Facility prox mines only.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows where they are, but you can't move.
Yep.
Fuck.
Stalemate.
He totally mined the crossbeam. I can't get over there.
Oh yeah, you can't. You were screwed if you started. Like basically the game, it was like a game of chess where if you started in the air duct, you weren't winning that. You weren't winning the match. It really was. It was, the luck of the draw. Like if you started in the room with the tanks, you're like, dope, I got this. I can go across the hall, get the proxy mines, and just go at it and just mine the shit out of everything. And you just sit in your little, your little cocoon, waiting to hear an explosion. And by waiting to hear, I mean just looking at your buddy's screens. Because that was the other lost art of that, right? Which is like we don't have that experience anymore. Now when we play co-op or multiplayer games, you don't have that extra easy element of being able to develop that second sense where you're not even looking at your screen anymore. You're not. You're just looking at everyone else's screen, and you know where you're at. You're looking at your screen in your peripheral vision, but you're watching everyone else's screen. You're literally playing like this, and then when it's time for the kill shot, you glance over, pull the trigger, and you're back to everyone else's screen.
I feel like with a lot of modern games now, like single player, you'll be playing, and you don't even look at the actual game. You're just looking at the map to navigate. So you're just you're totally just, you see the colors and you're just going. That was how it was. It's like you don't look at your screen. You just kind of follow what everyone else is doing and see the walls and
exactly.
shit.
You know where you are and what the pattern of the walls in the room you're in. So you're looking to see that. Yeah.
Like I told the story before, but back when me and Alfredo would play Halo all the time, like Halo 1, I would just literally look down and I knew where I was based on like the patterns of grass and shit. And I was like, you motherfuckers can't cheat off me. I know where I am. You don't.
Is that because you just knew where every single spot was that you could hide and camp in?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all I would do is play capture the flag, and my sole goal was capturing the goddamn flag. I don't need to kill people. It's not the point of the game.
It's not the point. That's just the
That's
way.
Slayer. I ain't playing Slayer. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I would just sneak up like a damn spider monkey, get in there, get the flag. They wouldn't know what's coming.
Yeah, GoldenEye was special. It was all that multiplayer.
It really was. And then I think probably top of my list, or if not
number
top
one,
two, that's got to be Half-Life. I loved Half-Life. I loved that game. I loved the environment. I loved the weird storyline that I couldn't even tell you what it was now. But at the time I was like, okay. It had such a great feel to the game, and it had such a great sort of. It wasn't humor necessarily, but it had a little bit of tongue in cheekness to it, where there was like this chaotic things going on, and of course it spawned a lot of other stuff outside of that, which if I'm not mistaken, what they had. Counter-Strike was based off of it. Team Fortress. I mean, shit.
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2, I guess. Half-Life Episode 1, 2, and
is Portal the same world?
Portal
is
the same
world,
world.
Yeah.
Portal. I mean, the orange box basically is all Half-Life, and that was awesome too. Like Portal was an amazing experience. Portal 2, not so much.
You're fucking crazy.
No,
your list is invalidated. Remove him.
Great game, don't get me wrong, but the first time you played Portal, I was like, this is fucking amazing. And then you play Portal 2, you're like, this is great experience, but it's more of the same. So, I mean, they added some more mechanics to it, which is cool.
was a game changer.
Oh my God. Only because I know who that actor is, and he's hilarious.
Steve Merchant.
Yeah. And then honorable mention I got to give to Final Fantasy XI.
I hate you so
I feel like
fucking much, Nick.
It's one of the most immersive Final Fantasy experiences. It's Tim's favorite. I know that it'll be on his list shortly. And I just, when I played that game, all 3 hours of that experience were great for me. And then I'll give it to Massive Chalice as well.
You haven't even played Massive Chalice yet. You just heard me out there saying I need to do a Let's Play Massive Chalice. But everybody should buy Massive Chalice. Free on Xbox One right now. It's over on PC. What up, Double Fun?
And then, my last game is just, I'll give honorable mention to Arkham Asylum. I really loved that game. As far as, like, more recent series, I love the Batman series. Love it. Love the combat. I give it to that game because it's one of those games that made combat in a third-person game perfect, and then you start seeing that everyone starts iterating on top of that. Assassin's Creed did it a little bit first, but they didn't do it as well.
They didn't do it right.
That hand-to-hand like brutality of when you see him you see it, and then when the first time you play it and you actually manage to chain that combo where he goes like he'll be hitting, block, and then flip all the way across the room and just slam someone in the face. You're like, this is the way this should be forever. Like, this is perfect. They nailed it. This is how Batman should be in everything. Animated series, movies, everything. He should fight like this.
Breaking arms.
They try to do that stuff. Like, they try to have that sense of chaos when you watch him in The Dark Knight or any of that stuff. Like, they'll shoot it closer and he'll drop into the circle and be like doing that weird like Krav Maga or whatever the style was.
Except for Dark Knight Rises, when they're like, let's put a lot of light on him and just show how slow all this is.
Yeah. Let's shoot it wide too.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we shoot it wide and make sure that
let's really make it look like it's a guy in a bat suit just punching a really bald guy.
So yeah, that's why when you play those games and all, and you have that experience and you feel like you're actually Batman for the first time, you're like, this is a great experience.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum, man, that was another game that was like they nailed it. Nobody expected them to nail it. I remember leaving the first preview. They came through to show that to us at IGN, and it was the first preview I ever did with Anthony Gallegos, who was doing it for GameSpy. and we left, and he was like, "That seemed pretty cool." And I was like, "I don't know, was it? Like I couldn't. It was one of those demos where they dropped him into the combat arena. This is how our fighting system was, and then jump to all right. And here's how the what did they call it? Fuck, stealth predator or whatever they call it, that predator mode.
The stealth detective mode,
where where you're just swinging around. The part where they have guns, so you have to just stay in the
in the shadows.
top. And so like that was such a weird like light dark kind of thing. It was just like an apple and orange experience of like, how does that mesh together in a video game where they're like, you're running around and you can kind of do anything and this, that, and the other. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, then you play it and you're like, oh.
Fuck, all right. Yeah.
You see that, like, you come to that first area where, you kind of, I guess you come in and it's like the courtyard area.
Invisible predator.
Is that what it was?
I don't know, something like that.
And yeah, the first time you kind of like jump off and just fucking kick a guy in the face with both boots. And then immediately flip and slam it, and then the next guy, you're like, that's Batman, man. That's how Batman should be. That's how he should have that sort of fierceness. But also, I loved that mechanic. I loved that everyone had guns, and I loved that you still had to rely on stealth. And there was a little bit of you don't have to go too far with being a detective, quote unquote.
Oh sure, yeah, it walks you through it all.
But it's awesome that you have to use the shadows, and you have to do what Batman would do. Use everything at your disposal to eliminate the enemy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that experience, and I'm super excited for. Well, I guess by the time this comes out, we'll be able to play.
This will be going live on Monday.
So
and
one
for
more
YouTube.
day.
Yes.
The week after that, we'll have
we'll
it.
probably have copies of it.
That's awesome.
No, this will be going live the week of Batman. So Batman's on Tuesday. It's Monday right now for somebody on YouTube. Hello.
It might be Tuesday if they're watching.
Did we survive E3 is all I want to know. It's touch and
I
go
see
at
what
the
you're saying.
moment.
So-
It's touch
I
and
see
go
what
at the
you're saying.
moment,
I see what
sir.
you're saying. Okay.
Or ma'am. Or thing. Did computers become sentient in this dark future before Batman?
I don't think they
they
did.
did.
That's the PC gaming conference announcement at E3. And by the way, PCs are fucking live now. And they're watching YouTube videos.
All right, Greg. What are your favorite games of all time?
It's my turn?
You know what? No, it's my turn. I'm gonna go with me. That
Before
sounds
you
better.
do that, then,
Uh-huh.
I want to thank all of our patrons.
Oh,
there we
God,
go.
you're
This
so
is we have
smart.
2 months of Patreon people to go through and thank you because we keep forgetting because we're so busy. So there's number one.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
for
much.
all of your support, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
We
you.
love you very much. And thank you to all the new computers that'll be supporting us now that they're sentient.
I don't know if they're going to support us. They're probably just going to kill us.
They just watched your topic and had a ball.
Did they?
Yeah.
Tweet at me.
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna hijack this, Greg.
Okay.
Because
Can I guess your first two?
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot,
No.
Pokemon
Snap.
Red and Blue.
No.
Pokemon
All right.
Fire and Ice.
Good lord.
Pokemon Diamonds and Pearls. Diamonds and Pearls.
No. Good lord. All right.
No?
This isn't gonna be in order. I'm just gonna name my 5 games. As you could expect, a lot of them are Nintendo. Because Nintendo makes really good games.
And there's the vast library to pick
And there's
from.
a vast library. None of them 3DS. Honorable mention to 3DS, but none of the actual picks. Yoshi's Island. I will stand by that being one of the best, most creative 2D platformers of all time.
You're going to put that above any of the
These
Mario
aren't
games?
ranked.
Okay.
But above other Mario games, I mean, it's hard because they're different, but I'm not saying it's better. I just prefer it. It's my favorite.
Okay.
It's your jam.
Because Mario 3, Mario World, my God, it hurts me to not put these on this list. But I'm only saying 5. I feel like I would choose Yoshi's Island over those.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I've explained many times why. We did a Let's Play on it. We played for a long time.
No, yeah.
Like a 45-minute.
It certainly played.
You did the book club too.
We did the book club
That's up
thing.
on
People like that.
youtube.com/kindafunnygames.
It was great. And I think that game gets shat on a lot, or just not talked about. And I feel like a lot of people didn't.
It's ignored.
It's ignored for sure. And I feel like a lot of people don't give it actually a chance.
Okay.
Because then I think that it was at the end of the Super Nintendo era when everyone was kind of moving on and everyone had already seen Mario World and it had the Mario World name in it, which pissed people off because they're like, this isn't Mario World 2. And it's not. It's really not. If they just called it Yoshi's Island, I think it would have got a better rep. But you know what? I'm down for it. It was the first game I ever beat. So that definitely, there's a lot of nostalgia factor in there for me.
Sure.
But I'd put that for sure, possibly at the top of the list. But it's somewhere in there.
Bold. Yeah. Bold.
Now, another thing that I think is easy to say is Super Smash Brothers. What's
I
harder,
left that off my
Which
list.
one? Yeah,
And
so
that was
you're
on my list.
Melee.
I would put
So-
Brawl on my list.
Melee is the one that everybody would love to say. And it's everyone's favorite. And it's more competitive and all that stuff. And I have amazing memories playing Melee. That was the first GameCube game that I had. I had the GameCube before it came out because came out 2 weeks later, which I'll never understand. But I remember just sitting there with the GameCube, waiting to play this game, holding the controller, imagining playing Smash Bros. And just the day it happened, I was like, oh my God, who are these Marth people? I don't know what's happening. But it was so good. And going back from that, like the N64 Smash Bros, like that was so many of my days.
That was
so
awesome.
many of my nights. Like that was just my life. Playing that damn game with 12 characters.
Dude.
And then for Melee to come and just blow it out 25 characters. It's
Melee
like,
was. Well, I never played Melee.
That, I mean, you
Are
missed
sure?
out.
I know. I had a bunch of friends that did, and it was one of those experiences where they had been playing for like 3 or 4 months before I got my hands on the controller, and then it was done. I was like, I can't win this game. These guys are kicking the shit out of me.
I mean, Melee really took Smash to another level. Like, it took it to be hyper competitive. I mean, 64 was competitive, especially like in a bedroom setting of just like, I'm playing with my friends.
Yeah.
And like, we all got super competitive. And it's like, oh, dude, I'm better than you at Smash Bros. I'm better than you at Smash Bros. Everyone just uses fucking Kirby and throws incessantly. But like, Melee really kind of took it to that next level. Oh, this is deep. There is a fighting game in here. And it caused so much controversy. Is it a fighting game? Is it not? The fact that it even had that conversation says something about that game, you know? And everyone that had a GameCube had that game. Everyone loved it. Everybody had their main character they played and all these like different stories and stuff. But then Brawl happened. And a lot of the Melee lovers didn't like Brawl too much. They slowed it down a bit.
The tripping.
And there was fucking tripping. They intentionally made it a little less competitive. There's a lot of bad things about Brawl. But Brawl is my favorite Smash Bros.
Brawl is the
game.
best. Smash
Really?
Brothers.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, Brawl's really good. I still say, in my opinion, that having spent a lot of time now with the Wii U one, that the games just get better. I actually feel like the Wii U one might be my favorite one because it has a huge roster and it's fucking awesome. It has like all these stages and I think it's great. I think the games just get progressively better. I loved Melee when the N64 one I liked. I remember playing it and having a good time with it. It was like fine. I felt like the roster was a little limited. Melee was really special. I remember too. I got my GameCube, day one. I think I got like Luigi's Mansion or something. You had to wait a little bit.
Mario.
Maybe Eternal Darkness too. Around that time, maybe not. No, Eternal Darkness was
was
next
the
year.
launch game,
Yeah,
yeah.
Eternal Darkness was 2002, I think. So I think it was just Luigi's Mansion, and then I got smashed when it came out, and I was like, this is really a special game. But when I got Brawl on Wii, I was like, this game's clearly better than Melee. Like I don't understand like. Maybe not on a fundamental nuts and bolts thing if you're really competitive with the game, but I was like, I don't understand how this game isn't better than Melee. And now I'm playing the Wii U one, and I'm like, I don't understand how this isn't better than Brawl.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with you in that sense of like, I do now like with the Wii U one better than Brawl. It's just Brawl is my favorite because of time and place entirely. Like that was the game so Melee I had played with my friends, and then all of my little brother's friends had also played that game with their friends, but I didn't know them then. But then when Brawl came out, it was kind of like this really nice, like cross-generational thing. It was his friends, my friends, like all these different people playing this game because we'd grown up with 64, we'd grown up with Melee, and Brawl was kind of just that like next level thing of just we're gonna play
Now we're
this
adults.
Shit. Yeah,
Let's all play
of
this
us are
game
adults.
together.
Let's play this game, and man, we would just get so into it. And it's like none of us were good to the point of being able to say, "Oh, I like Melee better because it's faster" and all that stuff. But it's like good for the people that believe that, and that's why I think for us we don't care because we don't get it on that level.
We're not
you know
competitive.
what I mean? Like
Smash
the wave
Brothers.
dashing doesn't make sense to us, and like
Yeah.
all the like we don't give a shit about the frames of attacks. Like we don't understand that. We just
That's
know
Seth
I
Killian
like
kind of
using
stuff.
you like using Link.
Blue
You have
Tune
a
and
couple
Link.
combos you do. You know what I mean? Like you have these things, but you have so much fun doing it, and you can play against a pro or an idiot and still have fun doing it. And I think that's something special about Smash Bros. Because it's not fun playing Street Fighter against a pro.
Sure. Good
Like,
point.
It's
That's a
just
good point.
not. But then with the Wii U one, it's like I could never put that down as my favorite just because I put countless hours into Brawl. Whether it was me and my friends, me and my little brother's friends, or coming to IGN, and Brawl was like the freaking bee's knees, man. Years after its release.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So
Oh,
Brawl
yeah.
came out in 2008.
Yep.
And I started IGN in 2010, I think. So two years later, and we were still playing it like every day for a while.
Yeah, we I remember we played it. We unlocked all the characters at first because we had the Japanese version. And so we had unlocked all the characters on one specific version. I think it was Mark Ryan's Japanese, and then he had it on his Wii. And it somehow got lost in the transition from the old office to the new office. And then we found it, and then it got lost. And I remember like being almost heartbroken. We had to go back and play through and unlock all the characters. And then Mark Ryan's like, "Dude, I'll do that in like half a day. It's not a big deal." I'm like, "Oh, cool." And
I
then
remember when he did that.
Yeah, and then it got hooked up by Fran's desk. which was almost. It was almost too perfect because Fran, as everyone knows, he's a consummate workaholic. Like he never stops working, but he's also never at his desk. And so it would always piss him off at the end of the day when it would be like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I would go over to Pereira and be like, Pereira, or I would actually send him notes or IMs, or I would take pictures of signs that just say challenge ? And just send them to him. And he'd be like, God damn it, Scarpino, I got work to do. I'm like, I'm your boss. You get the fuck over on that Brawl system right now. We just play some Brawl. And it was one of those things where it literally united almost the entire company to a certain degree because people from accounting would come down, people from engineering would walk over, random freelancers would come over, editorial people that I'd never really even talked to would be like, oh, I play, yeah, I'll get down on that. And then every single one of them would end up hating me after they played 3 rounds with me because I'm the most annoying player on the planet. But Brawl really is a time and a place, and it's probably one of the games that I've played most of my entire life. If you actually count the hours, it probably is the longest I've ever played a game, and it's absurd that game was that old and we were still playing it. But it's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
Smash
just
Bros. In
super
general,
playable.
it nails the one more match mentality.
Oh,
Where it's just
God,
like,
yeah.
all right, we'll just do one more. We'll just do one more, and then it's 6 a.m. and you're like, fuck, one more.
Oh, dude, people like Pereira. I've many times has missed his train because of that.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, I have a train. Like, it leaves in 5 minutes. I was like, bro, we can get in. He's like, I gotta walk. I'm like, run. You run. We play one more round right now. And he's like, fuck, all right, let's go.
I think one of the defining moments of our friendship was when your wife was out of town, and
Yeah.
you hit me up. You're like, Tim, D's gone.
Yeah.
Bring your Wii
Yeah.
to my house. We're playing Smash Bros. I'm like, all right, let's do it. I go to his house with Alfredo. We just start playing, and then all of a sudden he's like, should I call Pereira? He calls Mike Pereira. Mike Pereira fucking taxis over.
He's like,
And we just fucking played all night.
What was hilarious about that was that I was yearning. I love that experience of because it really is. When you have someone that's super good at it, like you're talking about, if someone's competitive at it, it's not fun. You need people that have kind of grown up with it together. So I know exactly how you play. I know how these guys play. I know if I'm having a good match, if I can beat one of you guys or not, or if it's just time to just relax, who gives a shit, and have fun and choose another character and do what they got to do. But that night specifically was hilarious because remember you got there and I had just gotten this brand new 50-inch Panasonic.
Lord.
Jesus, Kevin just
He didn't hit anything.
he pushed off that table and the whole thing swayed at like a 30
Oh.
degree and came back and I'm like, I just don't understand why he has to. He
Move
physically
like that?
causes waves in the air with how he moves.
He's like Superman.
It doesn't make sense.
And Man of Steel, of course.
But that night was hilarious because y'all came over. I just gotten this brand new 50-inch plasma, and I didn't realize that I had the connectors for the coax.
Yeah. The component.
Component, excuse me. And so we ended up playing on a 32-inch Samsung monitor and
that's
720.
why you invited us over, is because he had this brand new TV.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, we got to break this in. It's gonna be fucking
Yeah.
beautiful. And then it's like, oh fuck, the Wii doesn't have HDMI. Like we can't connect it because we didn't have the freaking thing. He's like, fuck, it's not in the box. Like shit. So we were so pissed. So he literally gets this tiny little TV and we put it in front of the big TV. And we didn't give a fuck. We sat and
Doesn't
played.
fucking matter. We played till like
And
1
it
o'clock.
wasn't until like a week later that you found out that it was like your
Where
wife
was
put
it?
it somewhere.
The Panasonic TVs at the time, and I don't know if they still do this or not, but they had a
Dongle.
It's a dongle basically that you plug into a port. Basically, I don't know if it's an HDMI port or a proprietary port that has the 3 colors that come out of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. And I had it. It ships with the TV, but I was like, what the shit is this? I'm never going to need this. And of course, filed it away someplace that I probably couldn't find it right now even if I needed it to. But thank God everything runs off of HDMI. Thank God we standardized the inputs
Thanks, Nintendo.
because it was too crazy.
I remember buying my component cables for Wii, thinking it was going to make it look better, and it looked indistinguisable.
No, man, like,
composite cables.
Supposedly it's better.
dude, Smash Bros looks way better.
I remember it was. I think I finally got with like Zack and Wiki or something like that, and that was when I was still playing Wii a lot. And I remember plugging in and being like, I can't even tell the difference. I didn't have a huge TV at the time, and I'm like, I don't know why I just bought these. It was like proprietary. It was the Nintendo
Oh
one
yeah,
too. It was
you
like
had
the
to be the
white ones.
Nintendo
I was like,
ones, man.
yeah.
fucking
You
Christ.
had to be the Nintendo ones.
Because it had
HDMI
that
cable
weird
was
like
plastic.
that weird plug, right?
Yep.
It wasn't.
It was
wasn't just-
gray. It was like that beautiful
Yeah, yeah,
gray
yeah.
color, and yeah, it was. I don't know. I remember that really well.
Fucking Wii.
Yeah, they smartened up quick because if I remember correctly, the NES and the SNES had just regular coax or not composite. I'm saying coax, like that's a thing.
it was coaxial. It was the one we had. To,
Yeah,
like,
you had it was the gray
RF
box, and then you put
adapter.
it into your cable, and then you put the cable into the back of the
Was
box.
that right?
Yeah.
And then at one point though, they did have composite
It was
cables. though.
PS1, N64, Saturn, Dreamcast, like were the first ones to really
Super
do that.
Nintendo had it too.
But they
Yeah,
had
but
the
you'd have to buy
proprietary
that
cables?
separately.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
ones that came in the box started with that particular generation.
Okay,
And then because I remember with my PS1, I still had a TV with my PS1 and my Dreamcast where I had to go and act. It was the exact opposite problem. I had to go. Then it would come with composite cables, and I had to go buy the coaxial cable because I didn't have that on my TV.
My God,
right.
one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life was my mom buying me an N64 and Mario 64, getting home and being like, "What the fuck are these colored things?"
Right.
I need the little thingy, so I had to go to Blockbuster and buy some broke ass
RF
Mad Catz
converter,
thing.
That I had it for the N64. After years of being trained to use the coaxial cable, I set the N64 up. This is in high school, in between the two chairs that are like across the room from the TV, and then ran an RF converter at the back and put the coaxial cable in, and ran this obscene like 20-foot cable over the TV. And I remember one day when I had moved it to a friend's house and brought it back, and I'm like, oh, let's see. I've heard that the composite cables make it look better, and it was like all of a sudden super bright and colorful. I was like, I've been fucking this up for like a year and a half, running it on this stupid thing.
That's so fun. I mean, I was so young, I didn't even notice. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know there was a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I
I
was
didn't-
dumb
The connection
and
was like
stupid.
direct. Like the signal didn't get weaker as it went.
Oh.
Like I was doing it.
I do remember though the NES,
hilarious.
not the
That's
top
awesome.
loader, but the standard NES was way ahead of its time in the fact that there was a mono port that you could plug a single audio cable into, and then there was a single visual port that you could plug. So like,
Was there an S-video cable?
So you
No.
could not S-video,
No.
but you could buy like a single video, like the yellow, white, and red cords. Wherever you could buy just the yellow cord, or you could have them all, but like you had to plug in the white and the yellow, and there was nowhere for the red because I guess there was not stereo sound. So you could do that with like some agnostic cables if you wanted to, but I didn't even know that until I was in college. I just never even paid attention to any of these ports. There's all sorts of weird shit on the NES.
Yeah, there is. I mean, doesn't the NES?
The Famicom in Japan can connect to the internet. You know what I mean? Like that.
Really?
Like it had like a thing called Satellaview, I think it was
Yes,
called, right?
yeah. Was that
And
NES or SNES?
It was NES, I think. Yeah, we could look it up. But yeah, Satellaview was like this thing where you could download. I'll look it up now. Like the Famicom, for as much shit as we give them for their hardware and stuff like that, like their shit was kind of like way ahead of its time. I'm gonna look it up. Satellaview. Oh God. Hold on a second.
Oh God.
Wiki.
Look up
Because there was a Zelda game that was exclusive to Satellaview.
It was Super Nintendo.
Let me see here. No, you're right. Satellaview
Yeah, it can't have been It can't have been NES. That was way.
is a satellite
was a-
modem peripheral for Super Nintendo Super Famicom.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
an
you're
F-Zero
right.
game and a Zelda game.
Yeah, that's what it was. So what am I thinking about with the NES? I want to look it up now. You guys can keep going. Famicom.
All right, so moving on from Smash, because I can literally talk about Smash all day. Because
Oh no, yeah, there was I'm sorry, there was a Famicom modem.
There was also another one.
There was a
that
Famicom
not
modem
called-
released in 1988. A video
was it
game
called?
peripheral for Nintendo's family computer released in late 1988, only in Japan. It used a card-based format reminiscent of the Who card for Hudson Soft's NEC's PC Engine. So, and Sega card for Master System because Master System was doing the same thing. It would give you live stock trades, game cheats, jokes, weather forecasts, horse betting, and
Jokes.
a small amount
Horse betting?
and a small amount of downloadable content. I knew that existed.
I tell you what,
I just
when
got the names wrong.
When
I'm
I was
sorry
a
to
kid,
interrupt.
when I was 7, 8, I really was like, I need an outlet for my horse betting.
Yep.
If I can't bet on the horses right now,
A bet on the ponies, they called it.
that's true. I called the ponies back then.
All right, I'm sorry
All
to
right.
interrupt.
The next game
close.
is no surprise. It is a Pokemon game. I've said this
Snap.
before.
Snap.
Gold.
It's not
Snap.
Snap. It is
White
Gold.
and black. Gold.
Gen 2.
You don't
So,
listen to Tim closely enough.
Gold
I
and
just like
Silver.
Pokemon Snap.
I love Pokemon Snap too, but it's definitely not the best game of all time. Pokemon Gold and Silver, I think, is the greatest generation of Pokemon, and I don't think it'll ever be beat. A lot of people would say that Red and Blue are the best, but that's like people that say not Final Fantasy, God damn it, Fast and Furious 1 is better than the new ones.
They'd be right.
And no, they would be
It
totally
would be
wrong.
correct.
No, they wouldn't. It's just like just because it's the first doesn't make it the best.
It was also the
Super
best.
Mario Brothers 1 is amazing. It is not better than 3. It is not better than World. Like that's not even you can't say that. Does it get points for being the first? It does. You got to give it the credit. But it's like anybody that says Super Mario Bros is their favorite game, like I question that.
Look, I'm going to go on a limb and say, though, that as far as series that are important to humanity,
Yeah.
Fast and Furious ranks way higher than Mario
Okay, but that's not
on your
what-
list, okay?
All right. Going back
And
to
so
the
Fast
Pokemon
and
here.
Furious is the best game of all time.
Fast and Furious Supercharged.
Boom.
It was
You guys are a
horrible.
lot more subdued on this podcast than
letting
you are on the
everyone
other
talk.
ones. It's weird.
It's Tim's turn.
I'll let you go.
At this point, Greg normally would have shut me out 3 times or shot me this look.
I'm not the host on this one. Here I can just be a goon like you.
A goon like you.
We're all just goons.
Cool.
doing
Sorry,
our goony thing.
continue.
So Pokemon Red and Blue, I feel like a lot of people say are the best because they're the first ones, and they hold a very special place in my heart. Those are the first ones I played. Totally won me over, and they kind of were an evolution in video games to me. My first RPG, and in a lot of ways, I think it's a lot of people's first RPG.
Yeah, it's definitely baby's first RPG, as we talked
Yeah.
about on our previous games. I mean, not in a derogatory
it
manner.
is
It's just
what it
that
is.
it really
It's-
did introduce a lot of people to role-playing.
Yeah, and I love it, and it could be deep if you want it to be, and like people to this day are still playing with like their EV training, IV training, all that bullshit. Yeah.
Deep.
Deep, if you want
Today
it
is
to be.
June 9th, by the way, so it's 6/9.
69. No, not doing it on this show. Wow, what's happening here?
That's a little
Feels
intense.
good, actually.
So Pokemon Red and Blue
Feels right.
were great, and they kind of set this world up for everybody, and the battle systems, and like the introduced people to the world of Pokemon,
Yeah.
what Pokemon are, and the 8 gyms, and blah blah blah. And then Gold and Silver came, progressed the story along, actually made the story matter a little bit more than it did in the first one, and it was right off of the first one. So it's an actual sequel, unlike the bunch of the rest of them. They're all set in the same world, and then you get little hints and stuff. But Gold and Silver was 2 years after the Red and Blue, and expanded all that. You get the 8 gyms, then you get to go back to the first region from Red and Blue, go through all that, and it was a little broken because it was like simple, and they probably should have upped the level caps of some of the things because they had the same levels as they did in the first game. So at that point, you already played. It's like New Game Plus, but
No one's on your level.
yeah, exactly. Everyone's just weak, so it like didn't matter. They fixed that in the Heart Gold, Soul Silver. So I might even say that those are my favorite because like those the improvements they made in those games were fucking awesome. They sped up the combat a little bit, which was another issue. But there is no moment in gaming that was as special to me as the end of Gold and Silver when you get all 16 badges, beat the Elite Four again, and then face Red from the first game. It was just like, good lord, this is fucking epic. It was perfect. And you face off against him, and he has the Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Snorlax, Lapras, and a fucking level 86 Pikachu. Deal with it, son. Deal with it.
So, in this series,
Yes.
Red and Blue are enemies.
Yes.
I see. So that's where the name comes from.
The name comes from a lot of things, but yes.
Was I right in assuming there was a Diamond and Pearls?
Yeah, there
Yes.
was. Those are my favorite Pokemon games.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is that where Prince got the song from?
Yes.
Presumably.
Actually, that is
He was sitting there
Fact.
playing on his
DS.
DS, and he was like, "I'm gonna go back in time and write this song right now."
Mm-hmm.
I bet he did. And what did he say?
I'm gonna write this song.
Damn.
Those were the last ones I played all the way through.
I'm pretty sure Diamond and Pearl actually was the one that introduced like time travel.
Was it?
Maybe I'm wrong
I'm
about
telling
that.
you right now, guys.
Because then
We're
you could
onto
trade
something.
with the GBA games. So, yeah, they had a time travel function. So there you go, Nick. You're right about something. You're probably wrong about the Prince stuff, though.
We'll never know.
But I'm not going to confirm or deny that. So moving on, I'm going to switch it up, and it's not a Nintendo game.
Oh,
But it's another thing. I guess a lot of my choices are my personal favorites that I don't think really kind of
get the love.
get the love, but also wouldn't be other people's favorites of even these series. I'm trying to limit it to one series. It's a little hard in some ways, but for this, it is Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
And my choice is
Oh,
Metal Gear Solid 4.
what the fuck?
Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of my favorite games of all time because the experience of that,
Yep.
I'll never forget.
Of course.
I did not want to put, like, I was a fanboy of that series at that point.
Yep.
I fucking loved them, and I just wanted more. And 4 was just like, hey, Tim, you like Solid Snake? Oh, yeah, you. I know you do. We're not doing this big boss shit. We're giving you fucking Solid Snake, and we're gonna answer all the questions that you ever had
Yep.
about all
Yep.
the series. Are we gonna give you good answers? Not entirely.
What are you talking about?
Some of it's gonna be
Patriots.
bullshit, but it's like that doesn't even matter. Like I feel like that it was such fan service, and I love fan service. Is it a perfect game? No, definitely not. Is there enough gameplay in it? I wanted way more, and there was a shit ton of cutscenes. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more gameplay.
Sure.
But the gameplay that was there, I fucking loved. The moments there, like going back to Shadow Moses, it
Oh,
was like,
Act 4. How can I forget?
holy shit, that was awesome. And then the
Yeah.
end of Act 4,
Yep.
when you're in fucking Rex,
Yep.
battling Ray,
Yep.
I would have, like,
Raid is
that
there.
game consistently surprised me. And I was like, I
Yep.
can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they're doing this.
Yep.
Freaking Raiden being actually kind of cool in a way that was like,
He was
bullshit.
cool. No,
he was cool. But I mean, it was so over the top. And it's
Oh,
like,
sure, but
something
that's,
people,
I mean, I feel like the Kojima's plane had left the ground at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
We
It's
couldn't
like-
be reaching out trying for it to get back to Earth with us. No.
yeah, but like him holding the boat back.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
But awesome.
But awesome,
Right,
right?
yeah,
and then
yeah.
the final scenes or the final chapter of that game was just so emotional.
The army crawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the bosses, like going back to like they were like the
Sirens.
what were they even called?
Oh, the Furies, Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Which obviously is awesome. But they were just like throwbacks to the
Sure.
Metal Gear
Psycho
Solid
Mantis
1,
like
Psycho Mantis,
woman.
and like the decoy octopus like thing where you
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
get to fight him. All that stuff was so good. The Sniper Wolf throwbacks, like, man, that game just fucking
Yeah.
nailed the fan service of it was just like a here you go, fans of Metal Gear. This
Yeah.
is a next gen experience. This is something that's fucking special and that you're gonna like. I couldn't stop thinking about that game when I'd be away from it.
Yeah.
I want to just keep replaying it. I'm like, good lord, I don't want this to end. I remember thinking that constantly the entire time. And the whole microwave scene, him crawling through.
Yeah.
Like
I
that-
actually remember that. I watched, like I said, I've told this before. I watched Jeff Haynes play that
Entire game.
the entire game.
Yeah.
I had to capture it, and I was sick as a dog. And he got to that place, and I actually was like, I've never played a Metal Gear game, emotional at that scene. Because it's the music, and
Yeah.
it's like he's crawling, and then he falls, and they're like, get up, and he's like, And then what is the song that was playing over it? It was like, I have the Uncharted theme stuck in my head right now. Nope. that's
Drake
that.
comes in and helps.
He's like, hey, what's up? I have a lasso. I don't know.
I don't know
why.
what song was playing at that point.
It's
It
really
might have been
emotional.
"Here's to You." The like, whatever. That might have just been the credits. But anyways,
I'm gonna look it up.
that
Do it.
that whole game was so special. And then the end, the final fight with Liquid, where it kind of goes through
Right,
the battle
yeah,
styles of
oh
each
my
one.
God, that
it's
was
just
so
like there's
good.
so many moments, and then the game ends,
And it should have ended.
and then it didn't end, and it comes back, and it's just like, what the fuck? Like it just kept giving you shit.
yeah.
Oh man.
I'm with you. No, this is what we always talk about, right? Is the fact that Colin and I kept Metal Gear Solid 4 off the top 25 PlayStation 3 thank you, games lists over and over again because
Get up, Snake, you fucker. That's what they said.
Jesus,
in
Colonel.
the game, right?
No, we kept it off because it isn't a game that plays to anybody, right? You need to be on that fanboy level. But in the same breath, that's why I thought I backed Jeff's 10 and gave a second opinion on it, that this game was a masterpiece. It was something incredibly special. It did scratch the itch that I had had for years to know what happened at the end of 2 when, Solid Snake and Raiden go their separate ways. Like, what happens next? And we finally get those answers. We finally get an answer about Meryl. We finally get to see what the hell's going on. And so you're talking about your favorite games, right? And so is it the best game or whatever, but you're talking about a favorite experience. Like Stem to Stern, I loved that game. You know what I mean? It took me 3 nights to beat, and then that second night I was tell a story at 11 o'clock. I was so tired from being up so late the night before that I'm like, I'm going to go to bed. And then they're like, you have to go. We're going back to Shadow Moses. And it was
Yeah.
like, and I was awake till 2. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Playing all of Act 4 because that's what I love the most. And him falling asleep in the plane and then like
Yeah, the
waking up.
pixelated
And
face.
then,
Good
like,
lord.
The whole game is like totally designed to be a love letter to us, you know, from Kojima, from Konami. And that was
I've been meaning
awesome.
to go back to it at some point because Metal Gear Solid I love, and Metal Gear Solid 2 I think is that's my favorite one. Fantastic game. And then when I played Metal Gear Solid 3, I was like, there was like something about it I
Sure.
immedially didn't like. I
Yeah, it
played
was
it
a
for, I
turn-off
played it for
for
a
me
couple
too.
hours. I was like, no. And then when I played Metal Gear Solid 4, I was like I played it for a few more hours. I'm like, no. Like I don't. There's something not right about this, and I never played it again. And I feel like maybe I probably never will, but maybe one day go back to it because Metal Gear Solid, and Metal Gear Solid 2 are so special. And in my mind, I don't think it'd be beat really. So I'm interested to see what's going on with Metal Gear Solid 5. But I respect people that like 4. It's just I played the game for a few hours. I'm like, this is not Metal Gear. This doesn't feel like Metal Gear. It doesn't look like Metal Gear.
Well, that was the thing,
That
is
was the
it-
thing. I was like, that's one of the things I really didn't like about it.
Tim hit it that he never knew what to expect. It was a departure from Metal Gear, and every one of those segments I remember being the motorcycle chase or the
Yep.
sneaking in when you put on the young Snake mask, and then the actual when you had the octo camouflage and you actually were fighting in the battlefield. Like every segment felt incredibly different, and that
Yeah.
can be disjointed. It's a disjointed feeling, but as an experience, I liked what they were driving at.
Yeah, I remember there was so many points, like in addition to the ones I've named, like the motorcycle chase and the boss fight when I think you were in London, where you're in the tower and then the
Right,
flying
right,
ones
it's
flying
outside,
around
yeah,
and like
yeah.
blowing the tower up, and it's like bits and pieces are flying off.
Yeah.
I remember specifically being there and being like, I can't believe I'm actually playing this. Like, I can't believe this is a video game. I can't
Yeah.
believe this is real, and that this is like I'm playing this. I'm not just watching it. And like, it's very rare you get those feelings.
Yeah,
you
no.
know. And again, it was my first game on last generation. Like I was really late to PS3. I got it the day. Like I got my PS3 with that game.
Yeah.
And man, it
Gun
was
Metal
just
Gray.
like, yeah, it was fucking good. So damn good. All right. My last pick is Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Okay.
I think it is the pinnacle of 3D Mario games. And I tried not to have multiple things from the same franchise, but 3D Mario, 2D Mario, very different.
different.
Very different. And Mario Galaxy 2, my God. that is a 10 out of 10. Like that is, I think, out of all the ones I just said, it might be the best game of my favorites because it's flawless. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking fun. It's so creative. The every level has some different twist and some different like design choice and the gravity and all this stuff. It took everything that Mario Galaxy 1 made and it just gave a little bit more. And I think all the additions were great. Like Yoshi and all. It finally gave us Yoshi in 3D and it was fun. It was good. It wasn't just fucking juice bullshit from...
Did you practice that?
Oh yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah?
I do that and
Yeah, I'll respect that choice.
That's really good too.
Yeah, Galaxy 2. And
Galaxy
again,
games are very
a lot of people will say Galaxy 1's better. And it's like, honestly, that's not even a hill that I would die on. Like, the two of them are so good.
they're amazing
To
games.
use a Colin parlance.
Yes.
That's me.
You're making it better.
Yeah.
That's me.
But,
Making them a better man.
Those games are so good. I want an HD collection so bad because, like, those are some games that I actually really want to replay. And the funny thing is, you can go back and replay them. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're standard definition, but they're fucking beautiful.
You still have to do this?
Yeah, you do, but like, I don't think that the Waggle was bad in that game. Like,
I don't think
right.
so either.
It was
I don't
intuitive.
think, yeah, that was one of the few games where I was like, this is fun. It's not a big deal.
No, it just fucking worked. I want to give shout outs to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, which I spent so many hours in, and
Thug.
No, not Thug. Portal though, like man, that's a real experience game.
Portal's a hard one though because it was not very long. It was a great
Doesn't
experience.
need to be. Nothing needs to be long.
It was beautiful, but it really was one of those like in and out. That was great. That's awesome. And I don't think that. And when they did, oh no, I have to go. But I don't know. It's hard to put that on the top list. Mm-hmm. You know.
I mean, I don't think it's hard. It's like
I was gonna say, yeah, it's not bad. It's not that hard.
like, as an experience, like man, and like I would also say Journey, like as an experience, those things are I'd put on there for sure. And I have to in some way mention Guitar Hero. Like, I'm not sure which one. I think if I had to choose, it'd be 3.
Van Halen. Oh,
No, not
Aerosmith? Was there an Aerosmith?
There was one.
But Guitar Hero 3, it's like that was such a great game, and I had so much fun with it. Like I would say it is one of my favorite games of all time. But I already went over 5. But fuck rules.
it seemed like you had
All
a lot. Yeah,
I have to peace out. I love you guys.
you got a meeting.
But
Not pee out like you do on the Game Over Greggy show every day on YouTube.com/kindafunny.
Blowing it up. I might be back. We'll see how long this goes.
All right, see you. Have fun.
Thanks, gents.
bye.
Bye. Nick Scarpino, everybody. It's a wrap on Nick. There's a gift bag for you out there.
Which one of you guys wanted to go first?
Doesn't matter to me.
I'll save the best for last and go right now.
Okay.
Good answer, Greg.
People know that I love Colin Moriarty. And if you didn't, now you do. So I'm going to do it in the opposite order of how everybody else has done. I'm going to give you my honorable mentions and then go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, so you actually have a ranked list.
Yeah, number one's no surprise. I talk about it all the time.
Got it.
You know it. All right. So in my honorable mentions, I'm going to give Patapon 3 an honorable mention. Amazing game. And it's funny, I went back before we went out and did this. I went and did the looked at my IGN top 10. And I had put Patapon 2 in there at the time and then claimed in the write-up that Patapon 3 is a better game, but Patapon 2 is like my favorite. Or I have better memories about it. Now removed, I'm Patapon 3 all the way.
Okay.
Just because it was the culmination of the series. It had online multiplayer. It had simplified everything. You knew how to level up your character. It was great. You just had to worry about one guy still do out the beats. Do you remember Patapon, Tim?
I never played Patapon.
But do you
I
remember
it?
it?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
We
I
need
hear it
another one.
echoing in my brain.
We need another one bad. I'm letting you know. And I hate whenever I mention Patapon and somebody's like, and we need a Loca Roca. It's like, we can't get them both. We can't save them both, and Loca Roca was not as good as Patapon, so we need to let that one go, everybody. If we can just
Let it die.
Unify.
if we can agree on this, maybe one day the door will be open for Loca Roca. But not now. You never played Patapon, right?
No.
It was just so ingenious. Controlling the tribe with the beats.
I think I might have.
And it's one of those, you know.
PSP? Yeah. I think I might have. Kevin, can I have the pen, by the way? I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I know you are. You know better than anybody that I have. He's going to throw a point at your face. You know better than anybody, Colin, that I got no rhythm.
Oh, that's true.
So the fact that I was able to play Patapon and be really good at Patapon is another thing of how great this game is.
It made you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Memorize all the change because you had to give commands via drum beats because you're this god or whatever. So you had to play a song to get them to march, then play a song to get them to attack. You have to anticipate what the boss is going to do. The best thing about it was another one of these games that was perfect for the PSP because it encouraged you to go back and grind. Replay the same bosses to get, the bone to go then take the bone and bury the bone and just bury the bone over and over again.
You gotta bury the bone.
Bury that bone.
As far as I understand, that's one of your mantras in life is burying
Greg
the bone.
Miller, bury the bone. That's right. But you do that, to get your level up and do this and get a rare material to do. There's so much. There was. It seems so cute and fun, and there was so much under the hood. And it was a great game. Kept you occupied all the time. So that's on my list as an honorable mention. I'm putting Mario Kart Double Dash on here. Fucking love
7.9?
Yeah. Fran Mirabella can get the fuck out of here with that 7.9.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'll never ever forget that as long as I live.
Well, it's just because it continues
that was
to be
such
a thing.
a meltdown on the internet, the likes of which I don't think I might have ever seen before or again. And that was way before social media.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The
yeah, that was the
meltdown,
thing.
the level of forum and IRC meltdown because of that 7.9, I was like, holy shit.
Well,
And it's like embedded in my brain.
It was a bullshit move by one Fran Mirabella III. He can never be forgiven for it. As close as I am to Fran, I'll never be able to love him. It's because I know about the 7.9 and how great Mario Kart Double Dash was. But you played it.
Oh, yeah.
God, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Baby Park? You
No,
kidding
Baby
me?
fucking Park. For
You're
sure.
Now, I never did the thing. Did you ever do the thing where your friends would get squirrely on a Saturday night? You've been playing Mario Kart Double Dash all day long, all Friday night long, and they'd be like, well, do you want to try actually doing the co-op? How you play co-op, where one of you rides on the back and one of you
Oh,
actually
no,
drives.
fuck that.
That
That's
was such
dumb.
bullshit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but yeah.
Now, if there's not another GameCube co-op game or multiplayer game on your list, I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm just telling you right now. You better know what it is, and I'm sure you know what it is. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Okay. Another honorable mention to Luminous. Luminous on my PSP. Loved that fucking game. I love it on everything. I love it on Vita too. I think the Vita version, obviously, probably the better version. Actually used touch in a
Electronics
cool way.
Symphony, is
That's
that
the
what
one.
it's
That's the one. Yeah, great game. Everybody should hit it up. Lots of fun. But here's something that's blasphemy. I know, but you know that I love Tetris.
Yes.
I'm playing Tetris right now on the Vita, the version that actually works now. Thank you very much. Ultimate Tetris, or what is it? Tetris Ultimate.
Tetris Ultimate, yeah.
Okay.
By Soma Play.
There you go.
Published by Ubisoft.
Yes. I was just wondering if Ultimate came before or after, but thank you for all the facts. But the problem with playing Tetris now is that I think Luminous is a better game, but a better puzzle block clearing game.
Better than Tetris.
I do. I think it is, and I think it might be that it's more approachable. You know what I mean? Like the drop, it's just something about the fact that they fall in squares, and then you can hit one edge of the square and send the other two down that I like so much. Trying to like maneuver that and keep that all straight in your head and clear out all these.
Did Columns play like that on Genesis too?
To an extent, yeah. It was a little bit different, but yeah. It is very, very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Luminous, amazing. Everybody should hit it up. And then also my honorable mentions category, and maybe one day some of these start getting in there, pushing things around, and putting Gone Home in there. Gone Home is still an experience, whatever you want to say. I know a lot of people on the internet like to hate on it, saying it's not a game.
Whatever.
But I want that.
They're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, Steve Gaynor. Yeah, he keeps getting crazy haircuts with all that money he made off Gone Home. Gone Home, one of those games that I felt. You know what I mean? You felt. I remember finishing that game as soon as the credits rolled, walking in, hugging Christine, just because it's like such a special experience. Especially now, it would probably be lessened, I think, because everybody talks about it, right? But at the time, it was like literally Marty had been like, I reviewed this game and it's really good. And then I remember McElroy. He had tweeted about it too, that if you haven't played it yet, like, don't read my review, but here's the link. Go play it first. I was like, all right. So one day I played it and was just blown away. And then
It's like the Paperboy of our time.
it is the Paperboy of our time.
I have two questions.
Sure.
Comments. 2 questions/comments. Was the point in which you went and hugged Christine after playing Gone Home, was that the point in which you realized you might have been losing your grip on reality? That a video game made you go hug your girlfriend?
No, because it wasn't that I didn't think I was that character. I hugged her because it's.
I understand
We
that,
take it for
Greg.
granted how easy it is for us, Colin.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that was my thing.
Number 2,
It was such a bittersweet love story.
because I know it's not on your list. So, because I know you well enough to know it's not on your list.
Sure.
How dare you, sir, when you mentioned GameCube multiplayer games that we talked about so much, not put Mario Golf on there, and you bring up Double Dash?
Yeah. Now you bring up a good
But
point.
Toadstool Tour,
A fantastic game.
which
It's
was
no
maybe
Double Dash,
one of the
sir.
best GameCube games.
No Double Dash.
Hard Stop. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate.
How dare you.
I appreciate your fervor and attention to detail. Now that you've reminded me of that, I will put Mario Golf
on
World Tour
on
on the
3DS?
3DS in the
Jesus
honorable mention
Christ.
category. 82 hours into a fucking golf game on the goddamn DS.
My God.
Right?
You're crazy, man.
It's so good though. We had the tea times every day, and then they had the online working great.
I was so excited about it. I played it for an hour and I was like,
That's how you are though.
No.
You got to be caught off guard for games for you to like games. I think.
Yeah,
that's your thing.
that's true.
Anything you think you're gonna like, you don't like.
that's true. That's a good
You're
point.
gonna hate Mighty Number 9.
No, I'm not.
Apparently,
What, are you crazy?
I remember Skyrim. You're gonna love. Witcher. You were gonna love.
I love Witcher. I just think it's overrated. I think it's a great game
You've been talking about how you want to stop playing it. You just can't.
because I'm overwhelmed by it.
Okay.
Get your facts straight.
You didn't like Resistance 3? You didn't finish it?
No, I
trouble.
didn't finish Resistance 3.
Number 5 on my top 5 list. Infamous. Original. Straight up Cole McGrath's story.
Good choice,
beginning
Greg.
of-
The first one.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, of course. As we go further on, Infamous 2, Infamous Second Son, Infamous First Light, as you go up, the gameplay gets better. It gets smoother, it gets prettier, all of that. Sure. I get that. I'm not arguing that. But Infamous 1, the story was so good. And the merging of the gameplay at the time to the story was perfect. It was, it made parkour fun. Climbing, you could get up anywhere except chain link fences. You could run around, have a great time. It made sense. It worked. You know what I mean? I love that Cole character. I love Trish. I love Zeke. I love these people they made. And for me, the interesting thing was, I think it's rare with new IPs that come, intellectual properties, new games that come around, that get announced, right? That you see a trailer. I remember seeing that trailer at E3 the first time. I remember being told what the game was and me being like, this is the most Greg game there could possibly be. You know what I mean? It's a PlayStation exclusive and it's a superhero / supervillain story, whatever you want to become, right? It has these comic book cutscenes and I'm like, this sounds like the fucking perfect game for me, which means it will be dog shit.
Yeah.
It means it will be garbage and it will fuck like Superman 64. It's going to quickly go off the rails and be an embarrassment. But then to get it and have it not be that at all. You know what I mean? To have it do so much stuff, right? It has its problems, of course, you know what I mean? But the traversal, the gameplay, Sucker Punch in traversal, Sucker Punch in that moment-to-moment gameplay and using the powers and how cool you look. Few do it as well as they do, I think. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And so then to have the comic book story laid on there, to have the choices where I wanted to go back and replay stuff and see how it all pans out, the system, it was so good. So fucking good. You know what I mean? And like granted, with Second Son, I wish they would have evolved a few of their systems. I thought it was so weird that in like Second Son, you show up and it's like, take a photo somewhere here, and there's a giant camera icon in the world floating there. It's like, couldn't we have done this in a way that didn't make it clear that I'm in a video game? Like, it looks so good.
That wasn't the big problem. The big problem with Second Son, though, was that A, my expectations for that game were way too high, and
Sure.
B, it didn't tie in at all to the original game.
Yeah,
and like I don't, and the original 2. I still think Infamous 2 is way better than Infamous, but
Gameplay wise, I agree with you.
Infamous 2 is really, really fucking good.
Sure.
One of the best games of that year for sure. But Infamous Second Son was just disappointing. Like I remember I was like, and I agree with you. The gameplay is awesome, but I'm like, I don't really care about this character. I don't really like this character. And frankly, like this world doesn't seem that big. The story doesn't really. Why doesn't it tie in at all to the original story, other than like anecdotally?
Right.
It's
8
like
years
fuck,
later,
man.
5 years later, whatever.
And because I kept playing that game, and I want to. Spoiler alert.
You've had your time to play Second Son, everybody. We're not doing
Spoiler
the head tap.
alert. The fact I waited until the very end for that game to tie with Cole, and I thought for sure you were gonna fight Cole.
Sure.
Like I was so when the credits rolled, I was like, fuck, I can't believe like he's not in this game. And then First Light came out and he's still not in it, and I'm like, how? Why not? Like this world isn't interesting enough for me to care about this.
Sure.
And that's a big problem with Infamous going forward. So I think we're not gonna see. Cole made that world interesting, and Cole's story made that world interesting. But I digress.
One of the things about it, right, is I think the Cole made it interesting in the way that
Begin spoiler.
Siri, spoilers. Cole made it interesting in the way that he was almost so blank slated and so everyman, right? Like with Delson, we immediately get to the fact of like I start to lose connection with him because he's clearly like skatery punk dude and he does like spray paint and it's like he's a character and he's kind of a douchey character. He's like this douchey kid who doesn't want to accept his responsibilities. Whereas Cole's like, I'm a bike messenger. Oh shit, I got superpowers and everybody's pissed. I'm like, I wouldn't be a bike messenger, but I saw the movie Premium Rush, of course, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Paperboy.
Paperboy, yeah. I didn't actually see Premium Rush. Number 4, Uncharted 3. Drake's Deception. The only 10 I gave on IGN ever. Stand by to this day. I still think we gotta talk about this. If Uncharted 2 and 3 had flipped places, it would be the same argument on why people hate on Uncharted 3. I still say I'll never forget. I was such a huge Uncharted 1 fan, right? Uncharted 2, Roper was reviewing it, so I just got to play it. And being at home and beating it over a weekend and he texted me, he's like, what did you think? And I was just like, it's Uncharted and it's great. It's literally beat for beat Uncharted 1. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, here's the setup of these guys. This guy's going to betray you. This is going to happen. Here's the supernatural twist. Everything's all... And it's just like, I felt so like, is this all it can be? Is this what it's going to be? Is it all... And like, not that it's bad. Like, you know what I mean? It's like Indiana Jones. Like, all right, they all have the same kind of formula, right? Except for the obviously best one ever with Shia LaBeouf. Mm-hmm. But they all have the similar, formula of what's going to happen. And then to get to 3 and have it be like, We're telling this bromance. We're focusing on this relationship of Drake and Sully and not really getting bogged down in the stuff happening around them. We're going to play with his past, tell you these little things. And spoilers for the end of Uncharted 3.
No.
Really? Are you going to play it?
Whoa, did you miss this?
No.
On Colin Moriarty Live, I was talking about when they announced the Uncharted collection.
Oh,
I've been
you're
waiting
finally?
for the collection. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
I'm playing 2 and 3.
All
So
right.
don't do
Sorry.
that. I'm definitely this year playing those games.
All right. At the end of Uncharted 3, when it's revealed he has a twin brother who is dead.
Yeah.
That's all made up. The fact that they went a different way at the end and everything, it was fresh and it was new and it was cool and it was pretty and it
I
was
agree with
fun. You know what I mean? Like
Some people really do have a stick up their ass about Uncharted 3, and it makes no sense to me.
I
Like that game was extraordinarily good.
here's what happened, and I've traced it back after having to fight for years on internets, right? On the internets. Sorry, computers who have become sentient are watching now. The problem comes back to the fact that, and I'm talking about strictly in the IGN ecosystem where I reviewed it and lived, right? Is that Uncharted 2 didn't get a 10. If Uncharted 2 had gotten a 10 and I'd given Uncharted 3 a 10, there wouldn't have been there wouldn't have been so much outcry. But the fact that Uncharted 2 got a 9.5 because Roper reviewed it and I gave Uncharted 3 a 10, that's where there's like this huge thing that people feel like Uncharted 2 got screwed. That's the really big argument I see all the time. Because it's never like, Uncharted 3 is trash. It's always like, well, if Uncharted 3 is a 10, Uncharted 2 is a 15. And it's like, well, okay. Like,
Yeah, but-
maybe I wouldn't have reviewed it that way or this way if I had done Uncharted 2.
That's one perspective. Some people really don't like Uncharted 3, and I get like the game gunplay is a little weird in the game, and I get that. It's definitely weird to get used to. I don't know why
But
or
I feel
what
like
happened.
that's
I
every
think they might have
Uncharted.
patched it too.
Yeah, they did. They did take it back and do something.
But some people really like Uncharted 3 is not a good game, or Uncharted 3 is a bad game. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I remember playing that game for the first time and being like, this is extraordinary.
Right.
This is an extraordinary game. The set pieces and the boat,
the
the
entire-
boat, like the cruise ship, and stuff.
airplane,
oh my
like
God.
everything,
I
yeah.
can't. The cruise
I'm
ship,
fucking excited.
The cruise ship's like the single, and that's not really a spoiler because I think they showed that at E3.
Yeah.
Well, that was the one
That-
problem is they showed so much of E3 of Uncharted
that's
3.
true. But like that moment, I was like, this is so awesome. Like they
Yeah.
really. I don't envy them to have to follow
Oh
up
God,
Uncharted
no!
2.
To keep having to do this shit.
But
no
also
way.
the big thing too is, and that's what we were saying, 2 and 3 being transfixed or whatever, or transposed rather, so that one comes before the other. Drake's fortune to Among Thieves is a massive jump
Yeah.
in terms of graphical
Yep,
fidelity
yep.
and the way the game runs and the technical fidelity. And then Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 are pretty much the same.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's 3 looks better than 2, but it is not. It is a little bit better. It is not significantly
Yep,
better.
yep.
And so I think that's another thing that people are hung up on is that they expected another jump like that, and I'm like, another jump like that isn't possible on
Yeah.
PlayStation 3. I think you're going to see that with
4.
Drake's. What is it? A Thief's End.
Yeah,
We got to throw Drake's back in there because I'm a little confused now.
Drake's Thief's End.
There we go. That's better.
Drake's Coffee Cake.
Anyway, I digress, Greg.
So do you know nothing about any of the games?
I know nothing about
Man,
them.
I
I know
I
there's a
would-
train sequence in 2.
Yeah, I envy you, man, to be able to go
I'm
back and
fucking
do that.
So
I know, that's gonna
excited.
be fun.
And again, like I utterly love Uncharted 1.
Yeah.
Like that game is definitely in my favorite games of all time.
Oh, you love that game.
For
My
sure.
God. I can't wait to see what you think of 2 and 3.
The thing about I'll never forget about 3 being totally overexposed, and I won't spoil anything for you, but I already mentioned a plane scene, right? Like they had shown that before, and something happens in it that I'd never thought about. And a Subway commercial the night before we got review copies spoiled it. And I was like,
Oh, yeah,
are
he's,
you
like, holding the-
fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? Like that, I never even contemplated that. So to go back and play it and have no idea, like,
Yeah.
oh, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
I'm excited.
Number 3, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. My first Zelda, so I think that's one of the reasons it's so special to me. You know, I grew up a Sega kid, and 64 was my first current in the moment Nintendo console. And I remember Michael Bryan telling me over and over and over and over again to buy Ocarina of Time. And I'd go to his house and he was fighting Ganon, and I'd be like, what, or Ganondorf. And then him and Jay would argue about if it's Ganondorf or Ganondorf.
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 That's the voice he did. Oh, Ganondorf.
Ganondorf.
Yeah. And then I remember I went to a Blockbuster that was going out of business, and they had all their carts out, and they had the gold
Yeah.
Zelda, and I didn't buy it. And I told O'Brien that, and he's like, "You're such an idiot." And he finally gave me the strategy guide in the game. He's like, "Just go play it and try it." And sure enough, like I remember, I always tell the story that it was he gave it to me the Friday or before our ACTs on Saturday, and I stayed up to like 4 a.m. to wake up at 10 to go take the ACTs or whatever.
Yeah.
Did fine
Fucking
ACTs,
worth it.
everybody. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally worth it. Amazing game. And I remember feigning sick at high school to go home and beat it finally because it was just so good. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It was
man,
so
it's-
beautiful in that world. And
Good Lord.
the way it played. And the other story I always tell because it happened in high school, right around all this college prep stuff, being in honors English and getting the assignment right of like, all right, we're going to do like sample college essays today or whatever. And so they gave you a list of like 20 books. and they're like choose one of them and go through and compare like the time elements in them, right? And as far as like what it was like in the one period to the next period or whatever. And I went through and I knew a couple of them, but not super well. So I did it about Ocarina of Time because it was like an assignment, whatever. If I tank it or whatever, and the teacher gave me like a B+ on it. Was like, but read some books. You know what I mean? Like, if this happens in a real college environment, fucking talk about a book, not about the goddamn N64 game.
Yeah.
But that game was so special,
Yeah,
man.
man, it
when you
really
come
was.
out, when you're running around and everything's so perfect in the past, when you're little Link and everything's so bright and cheerful and you're having a great time in Hyrule, and then when you come out of the Temple of Time, right, as like grown-ass Link, and there's fucking monster zombies everywhere, and it's all disgusting and gross. It's like, I'll never forget that. What happened here? How can I fix it? Like, that ownership I felt over Hyrule.
Yeah. Good Lord.
And then running through just the fields. Or more adept rolling through the fields before you got Epona. Because it was a little bit faster. Or so
That's
you told
awesome.
yourself. Number
I think
2,
it is.
Super Mario World on SNES. That was probably my first that was like my first Mario console game. I had a Game Boy, so I had the
Mario Land.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a lot of fun with that. But like being a Sega kid, I played it at people's houses. Super Mario Brothers is awesome, great. I was talking about, I think Super Mario 3 is the one with the yellow background and Tanuki Tail Mario or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I have those moments, but not like an ownership moment. But like Super Mario World, for a summer, me and Matt Noel became best friends for a summer, and I'd go to his house and I would just play over and over and over in his basement, and I beat it, did all this different stuff, and then finally went home and was like, well, fuck it. And I went out and bought an SNES that was all like weathered and gross and Super Mario World, and sat there with Pinkerton on endless repeat with Mario muted, just playing Mario over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because that game blew my mind.
That game is so good, man. I think Mario World is on another level compared to like even Mario 3, just because the physics feel so right. Like, I feel like Mario World nailed the way Mario should move, how I want him to, at least.
Yeah.
Like, it just all feels right, and having the spin jump and like even the cape and all this shit, like being able to nail the
Yep,
like
yep.
the thing. It's like a lot of people say it's cheap, and a lot of people do prefer 3, and it's like, again, 3 is an amazing game, and it's hard for me to choose one over the other. But yeah, World, it comes down to how big that world is, how many secrets there are, how easy it is to actually understand how to find the secrets. Like, the secrets aren't bullshit. Like, you can find them. There are clues. There are it guides you that way, and it's like, oh, it's so good. So good.
Yeah. And then my favorite game of all time, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. PSP, another great PSP game. After Metal Gear 4, I think there was such a bad taste in some people's mouths, and then just me having to defend why I like 4 or anything involving Metal Gear after that, because all it was talk of fucking nonsensical cutscenes and this, that, and the other, and there wasn't enough gameplay and to have Kojima be like, we're making another Metal Gear, it's gonna be on it's again, like, they're designing a game for me, it's gonna be the Sony exclusive on the PSP, which is like the channel I started in charge of, like, you know what I mean, at IGN or whatever. To sit down and play that and have it not miss a step, to add so much depth to what a Metal Gear game could be, how different it could be, what the new thing will be, the replayability of it. The fact that I played 90 some hours of that game. You know what I mean? It was the save I protected with my life. I remember on a plane ride where I was switching memory Pro Stick duos, and I dropped it, and I panicked, and I eventually had to ask everyone in the row on this airplane to get up. I'm like, I have to lay down on the floor of the plane right now. You know what I mean? I can't risk us landing or whatever and coming in and the card moving around. I found it, and I was like, geez, you know what I mean? And I started backing the card up like every other day or whatever to make sure it was protected at all times. But it was just like the cutscenes that were done in the comic art that looked awesome. You know what I mean? The voiceover, the acting, the story. I always go back to how this is a story anyone could get in on. You know what I mean? And like, this is, you don't have to know Les Enfants Terribles and all about the Lalelulalo and all, you know what I mean? It's just like, your mentor that you killed is back, maybe. This guy has a tape recording of it. Go investigate. And that was it. And you did it. And then you start recruiting people and building your own Metal Gear. And like, that moment when it dawns on me that like, holy shit, I'm building Outer Heaven. I'm not playing the prequel, I'm building the prequel. And this, of course, before I knew 5, or you knew about 5 or anything like that, or Ground Zeroes. But it's like, in that moment when you're like, I'm making the history, and I know how this plays out, but I'm not tied to it in the way of like, it's got to be this story that's beating me over the head. It was just so fucking good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Love it. That's why I'm so excited for 5.
Woo. Colin, take us home. What are your top 5 favorite games of all time?
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
Dropping the glasses.
I have quite a few
Honorable mentions?
They have,
Okay.
they have to be in this. I'm sorry. Final Fantasy IV, I want to give a shout out to. Very special game, very emotional game. Probably the first game that was truly emotional that I ever played. Memorable soundtrack, deep mechanics, very long game, just a fantastic game. Probably the first JRPG that came out in the United States that was superb. Yeah, the Dragon Quest games were good, or Dragon Warrior games were good, but this was a superb story-driven game. Final Fantasy Tactics, I want to give a shout out to. Extraordinary game, very extraordinary game.
Do you mind real quick?
Yeah.
I forgot. We have to give a shout out to the patrons.
Oh, damn.
There you go.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah, we
Thank
did
you for
almost
all of your
God, you're
support.
so good at this, Greg.
You were very good at it.
Well, that's one way of putting it.
Well, I'm bad at it. That's one way of putting it, too.
I want to give a shout out to BioShock. The original BioShock, I think, is an extraordinary game, an absolutely extraordinary game. Storytelling, ambience, atmosphere, the horror of that game, the water. Yes, of course, the water. BioShock's a must-play game. I understand if someone doesn't want to play Tactics or Final Fantasy IV. BioShock's a must-play game, I think. I want to give a shout out to Civilization V, which was the first PC game that I really, really, really fell in love with. I used to play PC games when I was a kid, but I played Civilization V for more than I've almost played any other game, and I still play it. So it's a fantastic game. I want to give a shout out to Castlevania 3, which we just did a Let's Play of. Castlevania 3 is a nice gothic horror side-scrolling game, way ahead of its time, I think. Super Mario Galaxy I want to give a shout out to. And The Last of Us I want to give a shout out to.
Yes.
The Last of Us I think is the best game of the last 10 years. I think it's easily PlayStation 3's best game. Easily the best game I played since I was at IGN, probably. And then I want to give a shout out to Super Mario World,
Yeah.
which we already talked about. So number 5 for me would be Majora's Mask. I've talked about it a lot, so I won't belabor the point. But I think Majora's Mask is a truly special Zelda game, and I'm a huge Zelda fan, or I was when I was a kid. And I love the original Zelda, and I really love the original. I love Zelda 2, and I love Link to the Past. And Link's Awakening, I think, was the first game where I was like, it's fine. It's a fine game, and I don't really like it that much. And then Ocarina of Time came out. Ocarina of Time was a special game, and I feel like Majora's Mask was the first Zelda game that had really come out since Zelda 2 that was truly different and resonated with me in a really different way. It was a suitable, fitting swan song for Nintendo 64, and I don't think people really put them together that way because it wasn't necessarily the last Zelda, or last N64 game. I remember
There's something called Conker's Bad Fur Day.
yeah, and I remember getting my last purchase on N64 was the Dr. Mario.
Oh, yeah. God damn.
but-
you were riding out to the end.
Oh, definitely. I was a big Nintendo fan. I don't know. That's lost on a lot of people. I was a fucking huge Nintendo fan when I was a kid. Huge. But Majora's Mask, the themes of Majora's Mask fit perfectly with the end of N64 and almost told a story about N64's own troubles in a weird kind of way, where it was just like imminent collapse of this platform and destruction and death and trying things over and over again and stuff like that. I felt like Majora's Mask is a special game, and there's a lot of revisionist history about how everyone loves Majora's Mask now. But those of us who were there at the time, remember that game was not popular with a lot of people that liked Ocarina of Time, even though it got great scores and did well. But I was always ride or die with that game. And Wind Waker. I thought those were both very special games that a lot of people gave shit to. Final Fantasy VI would be number 4 for me. With the exception of another game on this list, I think the best Japanese role-playing game of all time, perhaps the meatiest Japanese role-playing game of all time, too. Huge cast of characters, something like 20 characters you can play as. Mm-hmm. You don't have to find them all, which I think is even cooler. You can let characters die, like Shadow on the Floating Continent.
Shadow, no!
Which I think is really cool. So the game is split in half between the world of Balance and the world of Ruin. And in between, like the middle part is when there's a thing called the Floating Continent. Emperor Gestal and Kefka and all these things are doing all this magic with Magitech armor and espers, which are magical beings that they're like abusing basically and siphoning their magical energy out of. And they create this floating continent. And there's a point where Shadow, who's the ninja character in the game, he has a dog named Interceptor, and he has like a soft spot for one of the little girls that is like a little girl that's in your party who's like a mage. Well, she's an artist actually, but you can let him die. And that was one of the moments where like you have to get off the continent at a certain time, and then you have to wait for him to come. Like, so there's a timer, and you have to get off the continent, and it seems like the timer's running out. But if you wait, Shadow comes back, and if you don't let him come back, then he's dead. And that was one of the first times, and he's gone for the rest of the game. That was one of the first times where I was like, games have a deep ability to do very cool custom things with characters and with storytelling and with non-linearity. And that was another cool thing about Final Fantasy VI was there was an incredible amount of non-linearity. When you got Setzer's airship, Setzer is a gambler, and you meet him at the Opera House in a very famous scene, one of the most famous scenes in any Final Fantasy game, where Celis has to pretend that she's a woman named Maria who Setzer is in love with and is going to kidnap. He kidnaps Celis instead of Maria, and then like you get the airship, blah blah. And once you get the airship, you can go anywhere in the world, just like you can in Final Fantasy IV and other games. You start going back and realizing there's a little side quest and people to talk to and all this kind of weird shit. And then when you get to the world of Ruin, you start realizing that there's characters you can totally never run into at all, like Umaro and Go-Go and stuff like that. So Final Fantasy VI is an extraordinary game, and it stands up to this day. And I haven't played it since it came out on Game Boy Advance when I was in college, but I know for a fact that game stands up. Like, there's no way nothing could ever happen where that game wouldn't stand up. And I'm almost glad that they didn't do that whole 3D weird fucking treatment to it that they did with Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy III, because it doesn't need it. Although I'd be interested to see what they can do with remaking that game. So everyone should go play Final Fantasy VI because it's fucking awesome. Number 3, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Perfect fusion of arcadey side-scrolling gameplay and role-playing mechanics. We've talked a great deal about this game, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But Symphony of the Night was a game that no one expected, and if you think about it from the perspective of someone in 1997, that is not what Castlevania was. And I remember buying it without knowing anything about it. I remember I got my PS1 in August of 97. I got Final Fantasy VII in September, I think. Then Castlevania came out in October, and I played a game called Beyond the Beyond in between that, which was a fucking terrible role-playing game. We had it, I think.
Yeah, we had a copy for the podcast.
Yeah, we displayed it, and that game was fucking awful. Awful Japanese role-playing game. But I remember getting Castlevania, and I was a huge Castlevania fan growing up. I had, 1, 2, and 3 on NES, Super Castlevania 4, Bloodlines, and all these kinds of games. So I picked it up. I'm like, oh, obviously I'm going to buy this. And I brought it home, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is weird. But immediately I loved it. I was like, this is non-linear in this huge castle, and you're playing as Alucard, who's Dracula's, half-human son. And I don't know. That game took a lot of inspiration from Super Metroid, but I think was way more important than Super Metroid, and in my opinion, clearly better than Super Metroid. I don't like, that's one of the things that hangs me up with a lot of people, where I respect everyone's opinions and stuff, but that particular argument always got into my craw, because I'm like, I played both games extensively, and I don't get how you can come to any other conclusion. Sure.
Super Metroid would be one of my honorable mentions. I still haven't played Symphony.
You should
of
play
the Night.
Symphony of the Night and see what you think of it.
You do it on your Vita.
You could do it on your
I
Vita.
know. It's one of the reasons I got my Vita.
It's not taking anything away from Super Metroid. In terms of the way Super Metroid approached game development and game style and maps and all those kind of things, is extraordinarily important. Gameplay, less so. The sprite's too big, all these there's a lot of problems with that game. But Symphony of the Night nailed something so special that they just kept making it over and over again, and people just kept buying it. And that was the crazy thing. And one of the things I didn't really realize until we had really sat down with Ego is that the games were profitable and were making money. That one of the major problems seemed to be that they couldn't afford to keep doing that pixel art. Like the beautiful stained glass windows and the castle vistas and these beautifully animated enemies with many frames of animations. Like it's very laborious, and they can't do it. That's why even Bloodstained, which is a Castlevania Symphony of the Night successor, is not pixel art, because it's too fucking expensive. So it's funny to think that those games are so extraordinarily good that they were basically releasing them like Madden, and people were just fucking eating them out. So Circle of the Moon and all these games. Aria Sorrow. Oh my god, these are excellent games. But it all started with Symphony of the Night. I think that's a really, really important game for people to play. Number 2, Wild Arms. Wild Arms was a very early PS1 game. Not very early 97. Came out 6 months or so before Final Fantasy VII, and I think really got overshadowed because the anticipation for Final Fantasy VII was so high. When you're spending $50 on a game in 1997, it's a lot of money. It's still a lot of money today, but it was a lot of money back then, and you're going to wait until you get the sure thing. But Wild Arms is a very concentrated and cohesive and focused role-playing game, and I don't really think that there's anything quite like it with its story and especially revolving on Rudy, and I won't spoil it for anyone, but Rudy Rough Knight is the main character and is really a deep character. But even the people around him, Jack and Cecilia, Jack being kind of like a Indiana Jones type character, and Cecilia being like a mage, or basically his two companions, and Jack's rat or mouse called Handpan, who you use to solve puzzles. Mediavision made the game, and they've only made really Wild Arms games, and they still exist. And I feel like that's maybe the single most criminally underplayed and underrated game of all time.
Wow.
And I really wish that everyone would just go play it and see what's so special about it. It's very hard. It's one of those games where I remember when I played it, my brother was one that recommended it to me, and he's like, "You will not be able to beat this game without a strategy guide. You just have to get a strategy guide." And he was right. Like it's very obtuse in some ways, but it's the story and the music and that the intro, the animated intro, is one of the coolest intros ever in any game. Very emotional, very emotional game. Wild Arms 2 is a good game too, but Wild Arms 1, one of the best I think of all time. And then number 1 would be Mega Man 3. And we've talked about why Mega Man's special, and again, we won't have to go too deep.
He has an arm cannon.
He has an arm cannon. That's special. But Mega Man 3 has always been funny to me because I think that's Inafune's least favorite game, that in the core series. But it's a lot of people's favorite. A lot of people like Mega Man 2, but I think a lot of very nerdy Mega Man fans like 3. It introduces Rush and introduces Proto Man, which I think are peripherally important things, but not really. I think it's more again, there's something about Mega Man 3 that is emotional and really weird, and the music's perfect, and the design of the stages is perfect, and the Robot Masters are perfect. And the game's long. It's the longest Mega Man game, which I really like as well. And you go back and you fight the bosses for Mega Man 2, which I think is so cool. Like Wily programs this one robot that can use all the skills of all the other robots, and I think that's just a special game. And I think Mega Man 3, much like Mario 1 and a few other games, is a masterclass in how to make a game and how to program gameplay and how to make a game feel and how to reward the player but also punish the player. The balance is pretty perfect in that game. I would go as far as to say there's nothing wrong with Mega Man 3.
Wow.
It's the most perfect game I've ever played, and that's why I think no game is 100% perfect. But if you were asking me what's the bad thing about Mega Man 3, I have no idea, and I've beaten that game 100 times, more than that. So I would put Mega Man 3 at the top of the list, and I don't think any game will ever beat that. And it's not nostalgia because I still go back and play it all the time. I've played since we started Kind of Funny. I've probably beaten it 10 times. So it's not a thing where it's where I have rose tinted glasses on. No, Mega Man 3 really is a special game, and I think that people are going to see that when that Legacy Collection comes out on PS4 and Xbox One, because that'll be a lot of people's first exposure to the Blue Bomber in his classic form, especially those 6 games which are so important. Because I think that Mega Man love today is a little weird. Mega Man never sold well. That's one of the things Greg and I have talked about this. Like Mega Man as a franchise has sold 30 or 35 million copies. It's not a lot of copies. When you put that into perspective, 3 Uncharted games sold 22 million copies. So, and there's literally over 100 Mega Man games. So it's never been a game that's sold extraordinarily well. All the classic ones have sold 1 million copies, but it's just one of those games that everyone that makes these side scrollers and these old school games today points back to that series and 2 and 3 and take a lot of inspiration from it. Look at Shovel Knight. You know what I mean? And Shovel Knight takes gameplay inspiration from the likes of Zelda 2 and Ninja Gaiden and stuff like that, but the knights are Robot Masters. The design of the characters are all Mega Man characters, and so it's important in an aesthetic way. It's important in a gameplay way. It's certainly important in a sonic way, and I don't mean Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean music. So yeah, Mega Man 3, and the best Mega Man song of all time, everyone says, is Wily Stage 1 in Mega Man 2. Wrong. The best right. Song is Wily Stage 1 in Mega Man 3, and you guys should go listen to that song. And the other shout out song, Mega Man 10, Wily Stage 1. Another good emotional song. So that's my list, but it's hard to do these kinds of lists because there's, I want to give a shout out to Catherine. I want to give a shout out to Spec Ops. I want to give a shout out to ActRaiser. I mean, there's a bunch of games.
Naughty Bear.
I think Naughty Bear, of course. But that's the cohesive 5 that I think would encapsulate my own love of games. My certainly my love of Nintendo and old Nintendo games, and not even first party games, but just games that ran on that hardware. And my deep and unabiding love for all things NES, SNES, N64, and GameCube will never, ever, ever, ever die. Hence my love of Galaxy or, I don't really like it, but I was thinking about the game. I like it fine, not certainly in this conversation, but I was thinking about the game Endless Ocean the other day and how that's a Wii game that I loved. And at the time that I went back and played it again, I was like, oh, did you ever play Endless Ocean?
Yeah, I did. It wasn't my thing.
It was like you just went and just swam around.
Yes.
Just a weird experience.
Fucking
Nintendo had
weird.
those kinds of
Nintendo's weird,
experiences they definitely are, but
yeah,
they had those kinds of experiences that are always going to be special. They're not quite as special anymore, I don't think, but those games will always be special.
Yeah.
So that's why my list is very loaded with Nintendo games or games that played on Nintendo hardware as well.
Yeah. It's always fun talking about this too, because it's you talk about your favorite games, and it's such a fluid thing that I think changes over time. And hearing you guys do your list, like, oh fuck, I forgot about all this stuff. And you bring up Infamous and the way you described about seeing the trailer and being like, oh fuck, I'm so ready for this. Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. That for me was a game where it's like, from the moment I first heard about it, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna love this. Like I remembered playing the first Prince of Persia with Kevin back like on some fucking computer and being like really into it. I never quite clicked with me. I never really understood how to play it, but I remember really liking the aesthetic and like the idea of it. So to get like an actual realized 3D game, like
version of it,
adding in the running on the walls and the acrobatics and like the battle system looking really fun and the puzzle aspect in addition to the time stuff. Oh my God. And it was exactly what I wanted it to be. So like, shout out to that. Shout out to Fire Emblem 9. Like I that one was really good on the GameCube. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of the games that I say, I hear Colin talk about different versions of those. So Final Fantasy Tactics, I never played. And you would swear over that over Fire Emblem. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, you would swear over it over Super Metroid. It's like, I need to give those some tries because...
Oh, I think I'd be shocked if you... I would be shocked... I'm not sure what I'd be more shocked about. I think that Tactics is so clearly superior to Fire Emblem that I'd be shocked if you don't see that about how deep and I really want you to play that game.
Okay.
Do you have a PSP still that works?
I do.
I got to go into my box and start and dig up War of the Lions, which is the perfect which is the perfect version of that game. But I'd be shocked if you played Symphony of the Night and didn't understand why that, it's all opinion. I'm not saying that my opinion's right or someone else's opinion is wrong. In my mind, those games are so... Final Fantasy Tactics is the best turn-based strategy game ever that I've ever played by far. And if it was going to be a second place game, it would be Tactics Ogre, which is almost the same fucking thing. And then you get into Tactics Advance and all these other games. And with Symphony of the Night, I mean, that's like the pinnacle almost of video games, in my mind. So you really should get down on those games. I bet you'd love them. I'm so positive that you would love them.
All right, so guys, earlier today we asked Twitter what you guys' favorite game is. We're going to save that for a topic on next week. Okay. Because this was fun. And this went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So I'm happy with that.
Good.
We did good. We did damn good.
We do that here.
Thank you so much for being awesome, watching all this stuff. Leave your comments below what your favorite game is, what you think about our list, and all that stuff. Until next time.